You're listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast brought to you by DraftKings. Great deal going on right now. You throw down $1 on an NFL game, new customers only. And if either team scores, you get $100 in free plays. It's that simple. Now, let's talk with the highest rated recruit of the U of A football signing class, Mr. Keyan Burnett, tight end / wide receiver from Servite High School. Keyan, how you doing, my man?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Before we get into signing day, a lot of people are asking, are you a tight end? Are you a receiver? Are you a little of both? What are you coming here as?
I'm a tight end. I'm a true tight end. I consider myself to be a true tight end. I do think as I come in this next year to Arizona, I'll be split out a lot more, almost like a receiver. But then, as I gain more weight, get more used to college football, I'll get in the box more.
Okay. Now, take us through signing day yesterday. I mean, that had to be a dream come true. Everybody aspires to be that Division I Power 5 athlete.
Yeah, it was a great day. It was really fun. My grandma flew in from Denver. My whole family was there. Basically, it was just I had school in the morning, and then in the afternoon, the school had a great ceremony for me and Noah and Jacob Manu and the other signees, and we signed and we were able to take pictures. It was a great feeling, as you can imagine.
Talk a little bit about the pitch that Jedd Fisch had, because we're going to go back into your recruitment a little bit, but obviously you were a USC commit initially. And Jedd Fisch is able to flip you over to U of A. What was Jedd Fisch's pitch, and what did you find so attractive?
Really, his pitch was, I get the opportunity here that I get to come in, I get to contribute right away. I get the opportunity to contribute right away at a pro-style offense and a program with NFL caliber coaches. And it doesn't get any better than that. So, and on top of that, it's my dad's alma mater. My quarterback is going there. There's so many cherries on top in this situation where it's just the choice is obvious for me.
Okay, so take us through kind of your football odyssey. Growing up, you switched high schools, but was there a point when you've got an NFL dad, you come from a U of A background? Was football always something you wanted to do? How did you come about becoming such a top-notch football player?
Yeah, I grew up playing flag football my whole life. My dad kept me in flag for a long time. I would say really as soon as I kind of understood like what football was, I started watching football, like NFL football. Probably I was like 6, 7 years old. I started seeing like how fun this game could really be. If you're great at it, then I kind of just was inspired to be great and go to college and hopefully beyond. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
All right, so talk a little bit about I work with a guy, Kelvin Efon, who's good buddies with your dad, Chester. You come from obviously a U of A background. Chester was a great player here on the defensive side of the ball, plays a little bit in the NFL, professional poker player now / businessman. But what was it like, though, growing up in a U of A household? Was that something that was always kind of on the periphery, or how did that work?
No, it actually wasn't at all. It's funny that you say that because Arizona, going there for me, it wasn't even a possibility of me going there because kind of how the past program was. But now just looking at, everything, just even last season, these games are so much more competitive in every aspect. So looking at this new thing that Coach Fisch has got going now, it really changed everything for me.
Was there ever a point growing up and you're a humble kid, so I mean, you don't have to gloat, but was there ever a point when you knew that you could do some things on the football field that some other kids just couldn't do, or that things came a little bit more naturally for you?
I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say there was a certain point or a point in time. I would say it was just me wanting to be great. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm great right now. I have a long way to go, and I know that, but it's just a desire to be the best and a desire to reach all my goals in this game. So that would probably be it.
Okay, so you get to high school, and you didn't initially start out at Servite. Take us through kind of your high school journey here.
Yeah, I started off at JCR Catholic High School down in San Juan Capistrano. Really just because how close it was to my house, and at the time I thought they were building something good. Which is not a knock on JCR. The school was great. It wasn't the right fit for me and my family. So I played 2 seasons there, 2 solid seasons, and then I transferred my sophomore year to Servite with Noah Fifita, T-Mac, Jacob Manu, and all these other guys that I had previously played on the OC Buckeyes with. So the transition was great. It wasn't – at first it was a little tough because Servite is an all-boys school. The drive, I drive down here an hour every day to school, so
Right.
there was that. But then also just the fact of being with my guys and the kids I grew up with was easy. So it was a great transition.
Okay, so Noah Fifita, this is basically his scouting report on you that we got a little bit yesterday, that you're a beast, you're big, you're fast, and you're a matchup nightmare. What does Noah Fifita, your future quarterback and your current quarterback, bring to the table?
He's he's a different kind of player you don't see a lot of. I think he's definitely a steal for this program. I would say he's almost like a Russell Wilson kind of Kyler Murray. His football IQ is unmatched. You're not going to see anyone with the same IQ he has. And then as far as his physical attributes, people will knock the fact that he's shorter than your typical quarterback. But, he can make any throw. There's not a throw in the game he can't make. His reads are on point. And obviously he's a threat with his legs too, as you saw this last season. So there's really not a lot the kid can't do. And I can't wait to play with him at the next level.
One thing that's so unique, Keyan, and you guys at Servite, I think, really got the ball rolling here, is that in the previous 4, 5, 6 years, you would look at, a lot of the offers that the kids were, Arizona was signing, and it was a lot of real smaller schools. So when Arizona gets a guy like yourself, who is from, who could go to USC or any other school, it really kind of stuck out. And then to see it continue to go on, and you're getting more and more kids, on signing day, you flip a couple kids too. It's something really unique that we've seen around here. And I think that's a testament to Jedd Fisch. I wanted to get into a little bit though of just, the Fisch recruiting pitch for you individually, and, what his big vision was. What really made you want to come here and be a captain at that point?
Yeah, that's a good question. He had a few examples he brought up to me before I committed, just teams that went from not so good seasons and then flipped things around. I think he mentioned the Bengals. He mentioned their basketball team actually too. As you can see, they're doing great right now, Arizona basketball. And that's just a new coaching staff coming in with a new philosophy, new teaching, new everything, and really just changing everything. I'm all for it personally. I'm all for taking something and making it better, because everything I touch, I want to leave with goals. So that was really his pitch to me.
Okay, so we have a bunch of comments here. We can't get to all of them, but this one was a good one. He said, Fisch once said, we have to be able to run downhill with power. How does Keyan rate his own run blocking skills right now?
I would say they're good. There's always room for improvement, but I say they're solid. They're definitely solid.
Okay. Now, you play in the Trinity League, which I think it's safe to say is the best conference in all of high school football. When you're going against the modern days, the Boscos of the world, is that something like game in and game out when you're playing these high level guys that are going to be Division I Power 5 players? Was that something that you think helped you and help your team really be able to kind of adapt and to help get to the college level?
Oh, 1,000%. That's honestly a blessing, is to be able to play against the best in the country, because that just makes you better. So, I would say playing against these Boscos in the modern days, it only made me better as a player. I don't think I'd be the same player I was if I was playing at, say, some random school in Texas or Georgia.
Okay, so take us through the recruitment then a little bit. Obviously, you end up at Arizona, but like I said, it's kind of unique to have a guy with your kind of offers, your kind of recruitments. When did the offers start coming in? When did the interest start coming in? Play that out for us.
Yeah, I think I got my first offer my freshman year from Cal Berkeley, which I was super excited about that. I was super stoked. And then from there, it was like a 2-week gap, and then things just kind of took off. The whole Pac-12 pretty much, Mountain West, these low schools from everywhere. Arizona, I got offered from the old staff. I think they're like my 5th offer, and I never really paid any attention to that offer. But then, being committed to an SC, I thought I was locked in, and then Jedd Fisch comes and everything changes, and then I'm at Arizona, so it's funny how things can change, but yeah. Okay,
so I got to ask you before we bring your pops back in here. You got 3 Servite kids signed. Are you guys still working on another one? Anything to say there?
Yeah, we're working on another one. That's all I can say. We're working on it.
I got you. All right. Why don't you, because this is so great to have you and a legacy in there. So if your pops wants to hop in here for a second as well, that'd be appreciated as well. Yeah. No, but Keyan, you stay in here too.
Okay. I'm going to grab more.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Take your time, my man.
Yeah.
Keyan Burnett going to get his father, Chester Burnett, ex-U of A great here, and kind of run down a little bit of everything that has played, has kind of played out here with the Burnett family, because obviously Chester did play at the U of A again, and he's got a little bit of a cool story as well that we're going to go down as well. So a lot of really good stuff to throw in here as well. So we got Keyan back in here, and now we got, looks like, pulling up a chair right here. We got Chester Burnett coming in. So, Keyan, let me ask you this: as your pops is getting in here, how much has he meant to you in your your football development? You said he was hands off, but at the same time, when you've got a guy that played at the level that he did, that's got to help, especially when you start taking football seriously.
Yeah, no, it means everything, because he's played against the best. He's seen the best. He's been where I want to go. So to have him let me know where I'm at on an honest scale, it really means the world. So.
Okay, Chester, talk a little bit about, now you graduated the year before Arizona has the historic 12-1 season, but guys like yourself kind of laid the groundwork for it. Talk a little bit about your time here at the U of A and maybe what you were able to convey to Keyan when you were here.
Well, we had a toughness. I mean, we had this debate all the time between him and I about, his team, his 8th grade team, his high school team versus what teams were that I was on at the time. And it's a fun debate going back in time and saying who would compete best against each other and so forth. I think we were a little bit more physical than these guys are nowadays, just because we could be. We had guys like Brandon Sanders obviously out there knocking people's heads off and doing things that they'll probably go to jail for, in today's football world. But football, I mean, it's a great thing, and for him to have this opportunity to do things. And yeah, every guy on there, I mean, my experience there, I mean, when I walked into U of A, I was fortunate because when I was sitting in his seat, I didn't know anything about who was coming in, what the current guys were doing. I had no idea who Sean Harris was, who was the guy I ended up playing behind. He's a great friend still to this day. I just knew I wanted to go in and play. So I went in there as a true freshman. I was fortunate enough to be able to play in the Fiesta Bowl, but I just went in there and I was fast and I was running around the field making plays. And Coach told me and Coach my entire staff, they thought it was good for me to go out there and play. So I got to play in the Fiesta Bowl and had a great experience. Redshirt as a sophomore, so Sean could go ahead because there was nobody that was taking his spot at the time. Right. I played that same position, and then they wanted me to come back and start 3 years, which I did. And so I had a great career. I had a lot of great friends and some of the best times of my life.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your son. We want you to gloat here a little bit. I know, again, sometimes it's not easy, but your son's a big-time football prospect right now. Without getting too big right there, tell us what you've seen from your son growing up and where he's at right now.
The biggest thing about him is that he's always had his work ethic, because we didn't know. I mean, well, when he was born, he was 9'3". The doctor said he was going to be between 6'3" and 6'6", and I'm not that tall. I'm right under 6 foot. My wife, so we were like, I didn't believe it. She did. And it turns out that, we were blessed and fortunate with that, with him having size and so forth. So he has no physical limitations with the game. So the rest comes down to skill set. But more importantly is his mental aspect of the game, figuring it out, his work ethic. So that was the thing that we've always focused on his entire life was, aside from catching the ball, but it was always the mental aspect and making sure that you go out there and you give maximum effort. And you're performing at a super high level all the time, because that's what you really can control. I mean, you'll have a skill set, you'll be able to catch balls and make plays and do things, but really how hard you work, when nobody's looking, is really what's going to count, what's going to translate into playing this game as long as you possibly can.
Keyan, we got a question right here on the side that I think is a good one. What stood out the most during your visit to Tucson?
I took 2 official visits. I took one to Tucson and one at USC. So I haven't taken a lot, but I would say that something that stood out to me was just the whole family atmosphere. I know it's kind of cliche, but I really haven't seen anything like it. I grew up on a team, the Buckeyes, and Servite. They kind of have that same atmosphere, but I didn't really know if it translated to college, and I was able to see it did. It's just a little things, Coach Fisch, he had us all over to his house. I think it was the last night we were out there for dinner. And just how welcoming with open arms the whole staff was for me and my family on that trip. So it was a great trip.
Chester, we talked a little bit off air, but what about, and I just asked Keyan about this, but what about Jedd Fisch made you say, you know what, that's a place that I feel comfortable now sending my kid who was previously committed to USC? What about the Jedd Fisch coaching staff put you at ease?
Well, it was a few things. Coach Palpal, obviously, he has a lot to do with that, which is a product of Coach Fisch. But Coach Fisch's honesty about who he is and what his expectations were, and having a true plan for Keyan, I think was really important. A lot of schools we talked to, some schools were, kind of wanting him as a wide receiver and so forth. And you kind of get to understand, and throughout this process, I think, Keyan's grown a lot to understand how he's viewed out there, which is important to an extent. I mean, he knows what he needs to get out there and do, but it's really about where does he actually view himself. Coach Fisch has a unique plan for him. All the guys he's looking at, and although he has great relationships, he has to be spread extremely thin throughout all the recruits. But he has a really specific plan for what he wants to do with Keyan that completely aligns with what his goals are, and that's what made it an easy decision.
I can't thank you guys enough for coming on, but we always ask this the last. What would you say right now? What's kind of what are your goals, U of A, going to the U of A? And Keyan, what would you say to the fans that are super excited to see you out there?
To the fans, I would just say, you're going to get my all. Everything I have, I'm going to put my all into this program for however long I'm there. I'm not going to let up. So that's for the fans. And any goals, I just want to win. I want to be winning back to Tucson. I want to win.
Chester, does it feel good to be part of the U of A program again?
Oh, my God, it does. It does. I actually sent Coach Fisch a message the other day, and I just said, man, thank you. Thank you for bringing it back, because, it's been a long time. And I'm extremely proud to be a Wildcat again.
We can't thank you guys enough. This has been fantastic. You raised a great young man right there, and it's always cool seeing a legacy come home. And Chester, Keyan, thank you guys a ton, and we'll definitely be in touch.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a ton. Keyan Burnett, Chester Burnett right there. And that's what's fun about being able to do this, honestly, is seeing parent right there who was one of the better players in the mid-90s from the U of A. Again, goes on to play in the NFL, poker player, which I was remiss in. I should have got to. But to see what they said about how, Arizona really wasn't an option before Jedd Fisch came on. And once Jedd Fisch comes on, all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's take another look right here. Let's see what this guy has to offer. And I think what you saw that he has to offer is he has a plan. And that's what Noah Fifita said as well, is that they had a plan. They know how to use me. They know what they can get out of me. And I think that's the exciting part about being able to do this. I want to be able coming up here in a second, I want to contrast this a little bit to the other side, because I think it's important for people to know that, yes, Arizona was 1-11, but it's a little bit different than what it was last year. But first thing we got to throw out there, the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Code word PHNX, throw down $1 on an NFL game, new customers only, and if it hits, meaning if either team scores, you get $100 in free plays. It's that simple. It's that easy. And you know what? You can do it with anything you want with that money. You can go to the NBA, you can go to the NFL, you can go to college football, college basketball, wherever the heck you want to go with it. Now, eligibility restrictions do apply. 21 and up, Arizona only. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. They'll get you taken care of. DraftKings Sportsbook app, again, code word PHNX. That's where they've got everything going right there. And by the way, my pick of the week for tomorrow is Arizona and the over. So go ahead and take that one right now for what it's worth. Okay, now, Kevin Sumlin, I'm not going to use this next segment to beat up Kevin Sumlin, but I'm also going to show you, I think, a little bit of the difference here. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy here. There's a guy named, first and foremost, I'm going to tie this to Bijan Robinson a little bit and all the kids from South Point. First and foremost, there's a guy that I know that tutors kids. His name's Tom, and generally, I take a lot of what he says with a grain of salt because a lot of it's just nonsense. But he was telling me about this kid and that he had a bunch of other players and this Bijan Robinson kid. and he was telling me about there's these other guys, and I'm kind of rolling my eyes because a lot of this stuff, again, that he says just kind of made up. But then you see Bijan Robinson burst onto the scene, and you see these other teammates from South Point burst onto the scene, and I'm like, whoa, this guy who, doesn't know a ton was actually right on this. So then I start asking some of the South Point kids about their offers. And I asked Lathan Ransom, and he says, I'm not super big on Arizona because they were like the fourth school to offer me. And he's now starting at Ohio State. And that's the problem right here, is if you've got some guy who doesn't even really know much, and he's saying that all of these players are going to be really good, but you've got a previous coaching staff that's not offering them, that is a big time issue. And that's something that can't really be overlooked right here. The first thing Jedd Fisch has done when he was signed is that he said recruiting will be the lifeblood of my program, period. And it has been. Yes, Arizona went 1-11. We all know that. But it was a more competitive 1-11. And you could say, well, you know what does that really mean? Arizona's in games this year that they wouldn't have been in last year. You look at Utah, you look at Washington. Yes, I know Washington isn't very good, but it's a lot different feel. But the part where they really made a difference, though, was on the recruiting trail. And that's exactly what we were talking about right there. Now, the South Point kids, all these kids, I don't want to cry over spilt milk, but it was important to say that these guys weren't exactly a secret, as the example that I just threw out right there. So you've got Keyan Burnett now. You got Noah Fifita. And they're working on their 5-star wide receiver, T-Mac. Who knows if he's going to come here or not, but that would certainly be a nice little addition to the class. But the point is, Jedd Fisch gets it. Now, I don't know if Jedd Fisch is going to be a great coach or not. Nobody does, because this was his first year as a head coach. But he has been able to sell a vision. And if you can sell a vision, that's where you can take things. That's where you can tell a Chester Burnett, who played at the U of A, played on the Desert Swarm teams, played with the Brandon Sanders, the Sean Harris, the Rob Waldrops, the Teddy Brewskis, guys like that, the Chris McAllisters. If you can sell him, a guy who was going to send his kid to USC, and for good reason, then I think it's easy to sell other people on the aspect of being able to play at the University of Arizona. And Fisch has done that. That's half the battle for it. So again, I don't expect great things from the team next year, but it's certainly something that is moving in the right direction. And I think that's something that you really can't take for granted. One thing also that is moving in the right direction, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX, throw in $1 on an NFL game, and if either team scores, you get $100 in free plays. Again, you got to be a new customer for that one, but that's the great part about it, is that you can play with a lot of different stuff. Who knows? You take the $100 and you say, all right, I'm going to bet here on an NBA game. Then I'm going to bet on a college game. We're in the prime time of sports season. That's why you want to hop on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. They'll get you taken care of. All right. This has been incredibly fun because you can see the love. You can see just kind of the youthful admiration that a lot of these kids have for the process, for being able to, sign with Arizona. And this is something we haven't seen in a long time. We're super grateful to Noah Fifita and to Keyan Burnett. I'll give you a little bit of a tease. Well, I'll just tell you, we got 4-star linebacker Sterling Lane coming on Monday, who's going to break down the process. This is another kid that could have gone pretty much anywhere he wanted. And that's why you also want to be on PHNX Sports, AZ Wildcats podcast. Throughout the state, we got you covered. Arizona, ASU, Sun Devils, Coyotes, everybody, any team here that matters, we got you covered. And we'll be back with you tomorrow. Post-game show, myself and William Brad Alice breaking down hopefully another big Arizona victory. Again, my DraftKings pick of the week is going to be Arizona and the over in that. Again, all of you guys, couldn't do this without you. All the comments, Matthew Bothwell, Jose Roman, Mike Zuniga, just go on and on down the list. You guys are all appreciated. Marcus Price, Jose Grajeda, Ryan DeMarco, Anthony Humbert. Thanks, guys, and we will be back with you tomorrow on the postgame. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.